Namaskar. Two things that we are going to discuss. First, the new list of appointments, and two, how these appointments are going to affect the relations between United States and China. This is the most important item, and we are going to go through both these things very quickly. A small request to all of you to please like this video. Let's start with the slide deck on the new appointments, especially the appointment of Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy with the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. Now, what it is going to do is it is going to help dismantle government bureaucracy. Now, this is not a department that is going to have its own staff or something like that. They're going to be working closely. This is my understanding, okay? They're going to be working closely with the White House and the Office of the Management and Budget to try and find out where are the inefficiencies. What are the things that can be impacted quickly without losing functionality? Elon Musk has already established a bar whereby in Twitter, he actually fired 80% of the staff. And that has resulted in Twitter actually becoming leaner, meaner, fitter. So these are all some of the things that they are planning to do. And here the takeaway here is the last 2-3 years, the biggest job rate growth, that is the number of jobs created, is actually in the government. How did or why did the Biden administration create so many government jobs? It's almost like what happened in Kerala. Arif Mohammed Khan had said that every minister brings a temporary person for 1 or 2 years, then that person gets absorbed into the government, he becomes and then he gets retired and goes somewhere else, but he gets all the benefits. Something similar looks like is what has been planned by the Biden administration also. So they are really going to be looking carefully. And Elon Musk, I have a lot of faith in his ability to deliver. Very difficult to run one company successfully, $1 billion company successfully. This guy runs 3 or 4. I don't have lost count, as a matter of fact. I mean, just amazing how many things Elon Musk is able to get done, because he's not doing that himself. So he knows how to manage people. He knows how to run companies. I have very good feeling about these two combinations, because Vivek has a lot of articulation about what they are doing. Elon may not be able to spend a lot of time on this, but Vivek, I think, will be able to spend a fair amount of time. And how they split their responsibilities is something that we'll have to see in the days and weeks to come. Now, let's go to our slide deck. So these are going to be other appointments, and each and every one of them will give you a message as to which way the Trump V2 version 2 is thinking. Next, please. We already talked about Susie Wiles, the chief of staff. She's the daughter of Pat Summerall. Actually, I have a longer video on Susie and Tom Homan, and that will be airing shortly after this, maybe, I don't know, today or tomorrow. And that will give you even more deeper insights on what the border czar is going to do, because that's a job that is on its own. By the way, I have also got another one coming in terms of what is happening to the illegals in the New York City. That's also going to come shortly. So viewers, a lot of news to share with you all. So I'm going to be putting out all these small sharp pieces so you can look at what is going on. There's Tom Homan. So that one is also going to come. Next, please. Ellie Stefanik, you may have seen, if you were on Twitter, you would have seen the picture I had taken with her and Sridhar Chitiala. We had gone to meet Trump and Elise once in his golf club in New Jersey, and this was in 2021. Still COVID times, and was a very fun-filled event for me. Next one, please. Kristi Noem. She is the current governor of South Dakota. She is going to be heading up Department of Homeland Security. She is a strong pro-Israel person, and she's a Christian, is not a Jew, and she has a track record of standing up for the rights of Jews. So this is going to be another one of those appointments that's going to tell you that Kristi and Trump are committed to strengthening the hands of Jews and Israel. Next. We have John Ratcliffe as the director of CIA. There were some expectations that Kash Patel could be that. I don't know where Kash Patel is going to land. At this point of time, we are still at the guessing stage. We'll have to wait and see what happens with Kash. But John Ratcliffe is the director of CIA. This came down today. and he also is a very, very pro-Israel lobby person. Next. Elon Musk, I talked to you about, co-head Department of Government Efficiency, and the next one is probably Vivek Ramaswamy, same thing, co-head Department of Government Efficiency. Next. Mike Waltz as the National Security Advisor is a very interesting appointment again. He is a congressman from Florida, and I'm assuming Marco Rubio is going to become the Secretary of State. Everybody is saying this, but the official announcement hasn't come yet. Maybe there is a surprise in play here. I don't know. But we have made a deck assuming that Marco Rubio is going to be the Secretary of State. That deck will follow right after this one. Next, please. Mike Huckabee, ambassador to Israel. Mike Huckabee was the ex-governor of Arkansas, the 44th governor of Arkansas, and his daughter, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Sarah was also the spokesperson when Trump was in White House, and she is the current governor of Arkansas. Now, Mike Huckabee also is a very strong friend of Israel, and he has been appointed ambassador to Israel. So you can see there is a coordinated effort to try and telegraph some things to all these countries that, look, we recognize the kind of danger Israel is in, and we know what we are doing. Next one. Pete Hegseth is a defense secretary. Now, this is a bit of a surprise, and I'm going to dig a little bit more into this because he's also a billionaire, I'm told. So this is something that is not something that was expected. We were expecting, of course, I was expecting, I should say, Mike, but he didn't make it. And in fact, they've dropped both of them, both Nikki and Mike Pompeo. And well, you have Pete Hegseth. We'll explain or dive into it a little bit more in the days and weeks to come. Next, please. Stephen Witkoff is a Middle East envoy, again, a strong friend of Israel. So all these things together, if you look at them together, plus if Marco Rubio becomes the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio's Secretary of State is like the foreign minister, like Dr. Jaishankar's role. He would be, interacting in the Quad 2+2. He would be the one talking to Dr. Jaishankar. So that will be a very interesting combination there too. Next, please. Lee Zeldin is the Environmental Protection Agency Director. This job assumes a significant because Trump has also vowed that he is going to renew all the shale processing contract, which means in South Dakota, North Dakota, and in Texas. These are the places where shale crude was being extracted. Those places will again be in play. This will also drive down the crude price. The United States doesn't have a lot of refineries, so I'm going to be sticking my neck out and saying that there is a role for India to play in this also, and we'll see how that goes. Whether India still manages to walk both sides, like being a friend of Russia as well as US, or just being a refiner. There'll be more money in there and say, hey, I'm a refiner. Whoever brings me crude, I'll refine it for them and give them refined crude. And I don't know where it's coming from. These are my charges. The Ambani SR, these are the two big companies, plus the ONGC that can do this stuff. Next, please. Marco Rubio, like I said, we predict that he should be the Secretary of State. We'll have that confirmation in the next few days, I think. And now we can go to the other deck that we want to talking about. This is where things get really interesting. If you look at the things that Marco Rubio did as a senator or Mike Waltz did as a congressman, you will see how coordinated this team is going to be when it comes to dealing with China. So we're going to play out a scenario for you. Some of the things we may not get it exactly right, but you will get the direction in which the Trump administration may be thinking of doing. Let's go to the next slide, please. It's a very assertive stance with Marco Rubio as Secretary of State, assuming that he becomes the Secretary of State, and Michael Waltz as the National Security Advisor. Both of them advocate a more aggressive US foreign policy stance vis-a-vis China. In fact, they have both urged European allies to assume greater responsibility for their own security, aiming to relocate or reallocate US resources to Asia. So this is like, instead of just looking east, US will also have its own act east policy. You have to remember that it might be actually act west, because Asia comes on the west of US. Their appointment suggests a strategic pivot in US foreign policy with a heightened focus on countering China's global influence. I think in one of my hangouts I had suggested, those of you who are, who watch politics a lot, you should watch these two Netflix web series. One is The Diplomat, that talks about US UK relations, and the other one is called Secret City, that talks about Australia and China relations. Very, very compelling viewing. I mean, this came over last few years, so I've been watching bits and pieces, and I like it. And I'm sure those of you who are watching P Gurus, that there is there's solid politics here, and many of these, even though the show is fictional, the facts behind it. You can correlate. Oh, this is what happened here. This is what happened here. It's a very, very nice. These are two nice serials. Okay, who is Marco Rubio, Trump's presumably Secretary of State? Marco Rubio was born to Cuban immigrants in Florida. First few years he spent in Nevada, and then he moved back to Florida, and there he worked his way through the Florida State Congress, and then he ran for Senate, and he successfully became a senator, I think in 2013, if I remember correctly. And he has been a very good friend of India. Why do I say that? Well, he had actually tried to pass through the Senate a few months ago to treat India on par with Israel and Taiwan as far as the US is concerned. Of course, the Biden administration, with all its Department of State clowns, did not want to have anything to do with it. So this thing didn't make it through. Plus, in the Senate, the Republicans did not have a majority. Now they do. So this is going to be an interesting case, whether Marco Rubio is going to be able to get that also passed, in which case Trump will make a deal with India. So you want to be treated on par with Israel, well, you will have to A, B, C, D, E. I don't know if one of them is going to be stop buying crude from Russia, but we will make it up by giving you the same thing in a different way. I don't know. I'm just guessing loud. Okay, this is what is a possibility. Remember, politics is the art of the possible. Next one. Senator Rubio has consistently taken a firm stance against China's policies and actions, particularly concerning human rights and economic practices. In the economic realm, he has expressed concerns over China's influence on global capitalism. He argues that instead of capitalism transforming China, China has altered capitalism to its advantage, leading to the relocation of American jobs and industries to China. This is a point in what he says. Remember how Xi Jinping got furious at Imran Khan for sharing the terms of the deal that China had worked out with Pakistan with the IMF, because looks like China had successfully hidden all its deals with various countries from the IMF. IMF is an international monetary fund. And looks like the first time that got revealed was under Imran Khan as the prime minister. So then immediately, I guess, he became persona non grata as far as CCP was concerned. Imran was trying to move to Russia to try and make their friendship. Unfortunately, in between all these things, Donald Lu ordered that Imran Khan be replaced, and that's what ended up happening. Poor guy still cooling his heels in a jail in Pakistan. It's not that I have great regard for him. Everybody there is a rabbit mullah. These guys all are in denial of their Hindu ancestry. What can I say? Now, as a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Rubio has highlighted the national security threats posed by China. Next, please. Now we talk about Mike Waltz, Trump's national security advisor. Waltz is a retired Army Green Beret known for his extensive knowledge of military operations and policy. He is a vocal critic of China and a staunch advocate for bolstering US strategic readiness in the Indo-Pacific region. Walz's selection highlights the incoming administration's focus on addressing the challenges posed by the CCP. Mota, I'll tell you, 20,000 foot level, I'll tell you what Trump wants to do. He will make crude cheaper. Essentially, he will be the safety wall. That is, the United States will become the safety wall as it was for a few years under Obama regime and also in Trump's regime, so that the crude will always stay within a small bounds. Anytime it threatens to go beyond, above, rise above that bounds, US can turn on the spigot and pump more crude, bringing it down again. So this is something that is very interesting, and you have to remember that there are 4 or 5 countries sitting on huge reserves of crude. United States is one, Canada, Venezuela, newly found Guyana. All these countries have lots of deposits of oil, and they, if they form together some sort of an OPEC equivalent and become like American petroleum exporting countries or APEC, who knows? I mean, this could wreak havoc to the whole energy system, and in fact, that could bring down the, what should I say, the suave or the swagger that the oil rich countries have. I mean, that's a thought that is very interesting. And if that happens, then US will be able to supply the crude to European countries at a lot lower price, not as low as Russia, but a lot lower than what they are paying now. And something somewhere it will happen. But if crude goes down, what happens is, first of all, US's revenues will go up if it is able to effectively compete in the international marketplace. Second of all, what will happen is, crude is the direct cost. When you pay more for petrol or diesel at the pump, that's a direct cost, but it's an indirect cost of crude, because crude is, the oil is what is used to transport just about anything. There is a huge indirect cost, and when crude prices go down, those prices also go down. At least they stabilize to a level where people start affording commodities, grains, rice, even appliances, and so on and so forth. So that would be a big turnaround as to what would happen to the climate because of shale fracking. That is an issue that has to be addressed. I want some sort of a bipartisan or a specialist driven report that tells you what are the positives and negatives of fracking. I mean, US can easily talk to Venezuela and get their oil, which is actually underneath offshore of Venezuela. Right now, China is pumping a lot of oil from Venezuela. That's a possibility. And essentially that APEC, that concept of APEC, because Guyana is still ramping up its refiner pumping facilities right now. And Guyana is a neighbor, if not a next door neighbor of Venezuela, but they are close enough. I think it is Venezuela, then there is Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad is a mainland country, Tobago is an island, and then there are 3 Guyanas, French Guyana, Suriname, and Guyana, British Guyana. And I don't know which one of those Guyanas have struck oil, and they have struck large, huge deposits of oil. So there is a possibility that that could happen. Now, Walz has crossed previously for the boycott of 2022 Winter Olympics for the role of China in COVID and also its treatment of Uyghurs. So they are taking aim at some of the more critical issues that are there in the US-China relations. Look, everything, the cards are being put on the table. This is a different kind of an emphasis. I think the Trump administration realizes that the first 90 days is the honeymoon that you have with your people as well as with the rank and file. You start bringing in big bang changes then, and then set working on implementing them, smoothing the wrinkles, and making sure that it makes a difference in the lives of people. That's what I think they are hoping to do. Now, Walz also advocates for a stronger US military to deter Chinese aggression, especially in Taiwan. Highlights the need for increased defense spending and revitalization of the defense industrial base for readiness. He joins amid heightened US-China relations with trade disputes, South China Sea conflicts, and ideological clashes intensifying relations. I am told that when China started building bases in the South China Sea on this first island chain, second island chain, some nomenclature they have. So Scarborough Shoals is, if I remember correct, the place where they actually artificially built an island where it's now a China base, and all these things happened under Obama's watch, and Obama did nothing except he flew one B-52 bomber over the Scarborough Shoals, the area where this was done. I have to check. I'm just reciting from memory, and that B-52 didn't even have bombs loaded on it. So, I mean, China is going to find out. They had their moles in the United States administration. They knew that this was just a display by Obama administration. So there are lots of chinks and flaws in the Obama administration like this. It will only come to light when somebody from the inside starts writing tell-all books. Now, Walz's role in Trump's administration signals a tougher stance on China and a likely strengthening of Indo-US relations. So net, this is good for the United States as well as for India. His co-leadership of the India caucus in Congress shows his commitment to bolstering US-India ties. India, and amid the tensions again flaring up in the line of administrative control, um, line of actual control, I'm sorry, and may find new opportunities for defense and strategic partnership. And well, this is NSA to NSA. Doval will meet Waltz. They may have a good conversation. Sadhu se sadhu mile to ho gaye do baat. I don't want to tell you the second line. You all know what it is. What with this approach, Mike Waltz is surely a nightmare for China. So now I have set the stage for you. Rubio is anti-China very openly. So is Mike Waltz. And we all know Trump stands against China. He was the only one to call COVID as a China virus, China. He spelled it out for emphasis in one of his press conferences. Next one, please. Now, what is Trump going to do? So I have got you all his generals in the field. He is the top person. He is the president, El President. What is he going to do? He is likely going to bypass all these lengthy negotiations with China. Instead, he will just opt to levy tariffs. And I think tariffs are going to come against India also, because it's just a matter of looking at where there is a perceived trade disadvantage and how to right that disadvantage. All right, GHT, right. Europe and its allies may face pressure to align more clearly with US policy, moving away from a neutral stance. And with US markets closing to Chinese goods, surplus Chinese exports may flood the European markets, potentially prompting protective trade measures there also. One interesting thing that was noticed when India was negotiating the free trade agreement with United Kingdom as well as with Germany, they noticed that some of the products that UK/Germany wanted to sell to India, saying these were made in UK/Germany, were actually Chinese made. So this is where the thing became a sticking point. You got to make something yourself. You can't be selling me what China made. I can get it cheaper from China. I don't need you in the middle, right? So this is I'm told, okay, this is not going to come out as a story anywhere, but these are all things that I've heard from people who didn't want to be quoted, but these are reliable sources. Next one. Trump's potential second term may adopt a strict hawkish stance, viewing China solely as a rival to be contained. Some conservative voices see a possible second administration of Trump as the start of a reinvigorated American stance against global adversaries. Trump may also be gearing up for an unapologetically hawk stance against China, viewing it not as a competitor but as a primary rival to be taken down. Full stop. So he's going to explicitly spell it out. China is my enemy, not a competitor. There's a big difference between those two words. Trump's victory is now likely to hinder Xi Jinping's plan to transform the country into a technological powerhouse and further strain relations between the two world's biggest economies. Next one, please. Trump's election signals a likely return to tariffs, potentially targeting Chinese imports and exports, adding strain to China's economy. Trump's focus on trade imbalances could result in China facing renewed trade restrictions aimed at protecting US manufacturing and agricultural sectors. As the US limits Chinese access to American markets, China could see reduced growth in sectors dependent on US trade, like technology and consumer goods. You know, this big war that even the Biden administration dealt with in against China, that is the semiconductors, right? So a lot of the semiconductor manufacturing equipment engineers were recalled back to the United States. The companies were asked to pull up their stakes to come back. Companies like ASML, for example, and also companies like Applied Materials. Everybody is screaming and kicking, saying they are going to lose 20% of their business. But that was the diktat that came down from White House, and many had to obey because the employees, especially, were about to lose their U.S. citizenship if they didn't comply. A lot of things happened, and now China finds itself almost like an orphan with nobody to help it in its semiconductor progress. They have some technology, but not on the same par as ASML or Applied Materials or the other companies that are there for helping semiconductor fab manufacturers make their fabs. These are tools that are sold for semiconductor fabs, very expensive tools, runs into multi-million dollars. Those companies have all pulled their stakes out of China and they have come back to US, or they are sitting in other countries. It is expected that TSMC is going to start producing chips in Texas, and also I think Japan. There was talk of a foundry being opened in India, but I think India may not be ready yet because we have a big gap to fill in terms of technology, acquiring the prowess needed to build semiconductor plants. So that is something it will take some time, and all these things are going to make a huge difference in terms of how world economy is going to move. With clearly two camps, I only have pity for countries like Iran. Iran is going to get the worst end of it. Trump's election signals a likely return to. I think we've done this one. Next. Now, increased focus on military competition may drive US policy in the South China Sea and Taiwan, challenging China's influence in the Asia Pacific. China may face decreased investment from American companies due to increased sanctions and economic decoupling affecting its economic growth. I think I've told you this, right? The last September 2023, Xi Jinping came visiting to San Francisco, and he had a dinner, $5,000 a plate. I think one table was 42,000 or something like that. Six people, so $6,000 a plate, something like that. Many people did come. Many industry captains came, but nobody pledged to put even one dime new investment into China. And I've told you why. Many US companies, whatever profits they are realizing in China, are unable to repatriate that money back to the United States. China is forcing them to keep it there, and it's as if they are adding more and more capital to their companies. So China has a huge dollar problem. They don't know how to get more dollars because their imports are down. If their imports were up, then they would have got the dollars. Now the exports are down. When they could export their way through, they got the dollars they wanted because the West wanted their products. Now the exports are down, and they still need a lot of dollars for importing the raw materials from the neighboring countries. None of the countries want to deal with the yuan. I told you why. I mean, if I can find out a yuan with 4 copies of the same serial number, you think the countries don't know that yuan is being cheated the heck out of it? I mean, this is a joke, standing joke. Tomorrow, if the US pulls the plug on its peg of the US dollar with the Hong Kong dollar, China will just collapse. The yuan will just, devalue like nobody's business. But that is like a Brahmastra, because that would be point of no return. I think US and mostly the people, because in many retirement companies like CalPERS, that is the biggest retirement system, California teachers and other people retirement system, that is one of the biggest funds that have invested in China, those guys will get nothing out of it. Same way you have, European countries also, many pension funds have been invested there, many hedge funds have invested their money there, many big companies have invested money there, like Chevron or many of the petroleum companies have invested there. So this is a huge problem. So how this is going to be untangled, one has to wait and see. The tough on China stance could sway international opinion, making partnerships with China more complex diplomatically and economically. With Trump packing his cabinet with anti China leaders, it's clear that China is feeling the pressure. Next, that's all there is. I have covered quite a bit of stuff. In fact, I've spoken non-stop for 30 minutes. Now, let's take a few questions. Manoj Soma wants to know, despite major reforms like GST, RERA, and many more, why are we not growing at a much faster pace? Sir, if you have inflation of 12% and growth 8%, does it mean we are really growing? Yes, inflation adjusted growth is negative because you need to grow more than the inflation in order to actually realize money in your hands. Inflation is not that bad, I think, in India, because India lucked out by being able to source 1/3 of their crude from Russia using rupees. I think they lucked out a little bit. That's why inflation is under control. If I remember correctly, in India, inflation is at 8% or 7%. It's not 12%. And growth is 8%. The growth can become higher. But India, see, the growth will go higher if you have good, solid building blocks. Take, for example, what happened in this Foxconn facility that manufactures Apple iPhones in Madras, in Chennai, or in Hosur. These are all accidents created by the trade unions, or Samsung problem in Chennai, where the CITU insisted that we will want to create a union inside the Samsung complex, and Samsung said no union. They were really willing to accept all other demands, but not union. And C2 stuck to it. So these are all the problems that is preventing India from growing faster. Look at Sterlite. Sterlite was stopped based on a whim. It was just a few communist-leaning countries with some covert support from United States, perhaps. I'm not sure about United States support, but Church definitely did have a hand in it. The main crook was behind that was actually a Christian. And they just ensured that whether it was ADMK or DMK, that nothing gets produced in Sterlite. What I'm told now is Sterlite has actually moved lock, stock, and barrel from Tamil Nadu to Gujarat. Not good for Tamil Nadu. Next one, please. Manoj wants to know, do you have any update on ONDC and major reforms like OCEN? Give us any update. You have to expand these acronyms. MSMEs are drying up without money. Now they're talking about OCEN. Any updates, sir? I mean, if something is declared in budget, and then let me just check something real quick. Okay, some clarification about inflation. India's retail inflation rose to 6.21% in October from 5.49% in the preceding month, mainly due to higher food prices, breaching the RBI's upper tolerance level according to official data released on Tuesday. Today is Wednesday in India, today is still Tuesday in US, so you get the idea. But crude benefit, whatever benefit the government got from that, has not been passed to the consumer. So it's the same for people because they have not lowered the prices of petrol at the pump, maybe 2 rupees, 3 rupees here and there. Even that is selectively done. It does not come under GST, petrol, diesel, kerosene, all this stuff. So each state levies its own tax, and some of these states are jokers running the government. Next one, please. Magnet Ranga wants to know, Namaskaram, it is surely prerogative of a government to appoint people with an ideology it believes in. Should there be biased committees appointed exclusively to deny such appointment? No, Magnet ji, there's a lot of undoing that's going to happen in the United States bureaucracy. We have to remember one thing. We talk about, like, for example, a state like Kerala, right, where every time the CPM came to power, they would add all these people on the government payroll, and those guys get salaries forever. And then when they quote unquote age out and retire, they get pensions also. This becomes a huge burden on the state budget. And you know what they did? They floated masala bonds in London Stock Exchange with great fanfare, and then they took that money and spent it on something else. Therefore, the project for which the masala bonds were raised did not get done. And when it came for the payments to be given back to the people who bought the bonds, you know what they did? They added the entire bonds into government expenditure. You know, it is like, you know, Ganga mein haath mila diya, and then it becomes another problem. And now they go to Supreme Court, which in turn makes a request of the government of India and say, please consider Kerala's case. Why? These are abject failures in managing finances, and they are also arrogant about it. You can't even talk to them and tell them, you guys, you don't know the first thing about economics. Jyotishmati wants to know, see sir, what about this week's Delhi Rajagopal and Sir's hangout? Oh, I have a clarification. He was traveling, so he could not make it on Monday morning. We may be able to do it on Thursday morning. I can't confirm. I will do it in the next few hours. Today is Wednesday for you. In 24 hours, right? You will know. You'll get an update. Zrad Haddock wants to know, or Zrad Haddock, what do you think will be Trump's position on direct green cards for graduates, or any change of how H-1Bs are issued to F-1 visa students? It's a complicated question because especially countries like India are having a huge backlog. Philippines, I think, is even worse than India. And the thing that in one of his policy statements that Trump made, he said that anybody who's coming to US to pursue their masters and PhDs should automatically get a green card. I'm not sure that is going to be implemented in any time soon. The silver lining is a lot of industries will move to India. You'll be able to enjoy the same standard of living that you would if you were in US, but you would be living in India. I think that's a good trade-off. Next one. Maithili wants to know, we in Bharat already having the Ministry of Efficiency where Sanjeev Sanyal is doing a lot of work. The structural reforms and process reforms are being carried out. Your view, sir? I have to still see it. I mean, some basic things that I want done, I can't get it done in India. Sorry, there are too many to tell you. When I come for a month, half the time is spent just chasing simple, straightforward things that should just happen automatically. Why? Bribes. Krish Subramanian wants to know, is Elon Vivek's role a cabinet ranking? Well, they are more like advisors. They may come out with some position papers, and for that to be implemented, it all depends upon how seriously the Trump administration starts implementing the proposals that they would give. I mean, this will be cutting across many departments. In fact, I'm told that Department of Education is going to be completely disbanded. If that happens, the CRT, critical race theory, this gender change operation, all that BS, all that phony baloney, all that will go away. Thank God for our children. Next one. Thank you, Sanjay, for your super sticker. Gyan wants to know, the DOJE acronym seems to be Trump and Elon's meme attempt alluding to the Dogecoin he promotes. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. Next one. Maithili wants to know, Nirmala Sitharaman in yesterday's interview told that government may reduce tariffs if they don't hurt domestic companies. They may help our exports to foreign countries. Your view, sir? May reduce tariffs if they don't hurt domestic companies. Oh, this is imports into India. Yeah, that's a good change. Although why it was already not done, I don't know. It could have been done even earlier. Next one, please. Sanatani wants to know, two mavericks appointed to clean up the swamp, meaning implement Project 2025 and Agenda 47. Look, there is no such thing as Project 2025. Don't attach it with Trump. He has already disowned it. I don't know what Agenda 47 is. These are all nice to have, like a list of 10 things, like a charter. We shall do this. I don't buy much by that. So, Sanatani, I can see the sarcasm in your comment. If something goes amiss, Trump can always break the coconut on Vivek's head. Look, Biden administration could still not explain why they were opening the borders, allowing millions in. Can you tell me the reason? You go to the local Taco Bell, you'll see 15 kids standing there. Not one of them can speak English. They're all supposed to be trainees. and they have fired all the existing staff. Taco Bell is a low-cost operation, food operation. Why? Because California mandates $20 an hour minimum wage. At $20 an hour, Taco Bell cannot afford to, run. Starbucks is closing left, right, and center in California. And soon Taco Bell also will close. Maybe we'll start ordering our food also from Amazon. I don't know, because they have Whole Foods. I mean, this is just getting too lopsided. The market will set what they can pay for the lower income wages, not the government. That's what the Newsom government did. Godank XP wants to know, Trump used Hindus just as most Christians do to propagate their religion. Hindus need to become like the Jews in America to protect Hindu Dharma worldwide. Thoughts? We are not united yet. This batenge to katenge should be like, written inside our brains. So we always remember that before you start talking about, I won't listen to this guy because he is ... Next one. Sharmi wants to know, Sriji, you are in the West Coast. How do you manage the time difference? I see you hosting interviews with Karthik ji and Sumit P ji at different times. Then you have your solo live shows. Sharmi ji, I like doing what I'm doing, and it's all your support. You guys listen to me at all odd hours, and my team is very dedicated. They are looking for new items, new breaking items. When something happens that concerns us, especially geopolitics or things around India, US, and Canada, for example, I mean, we want to immediately give you the data. I mean, we collect a lot of data. I get a lot of data, and I have to just parse it through. Sometimes we have to double check two different independent sources. If they triage, that means they are correct, then we know it's a fact. We have to be careful about that also. Next one, please. But thank you. Ankit Rawat wants to know, Sriji, do you think Vivek would be able to beat Trump if he has run as a Dem candidate? No. Ankit, mainland America is still not ready for a Hindu. A Christian reporter told him to his face, I would not vote for you because you are a Hindu. That was the only reason. I mean, I tell you, one problem that Tamil Nadu, BJP has in Tamil Nadu is people will identify with nationalism, that being citizen of India first, but they will also add, but we will not vote for BJP. And if you ask them why, they say that they'll impose Hindi. So somehow learning Hindi is being held against BJP for them to vote for BJP. Annamale really needs to figure this out. I mean, these are some of the areas which are pro-BJP areas. Even they are doubtful. They don't want to vote for BJP. They say that, oh, they'll impose Hindi. I mean, knowing knowledge, knowing languages is actually a boon for you. It makes you a better person. You can understand and appreciate other cultures. In India, such a diverse country where every 50 kilometers, the food changes, the attire changes, everything changes. We are those who are, shunning this thing. It's their loss. Next one, please. I think that's all we have. I see 3 more. Just give me 1 second while sort this out. Okay, I think we are done with all the questions. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. I'm getting a message. Just give me 1 second. Question will keep coming till the evening. I think we should call it a stop now. Thanks for watching again, guys. I'll see you all soon. Namaskar.